Season 1 begins, not because you searched for motivation, but because your soul was ready for remembrance. And if you are hearing this now, understand clearly that nothing about this moment is accidental. The universe does not waste timing, and it does not speak randomly. It speaks when the listener is prepared, and right now you are prepared. Even if doubt still lingers in your mind, there is a deeper awareness awakening inside you that has been building quietly through disappointment, patience, struggle, and unanswered questions. You have walked through seasons where effort felt invisible, where faith felt heavy, and where hope had to be carried without evidence. Yet every step you took, even when exhausted, even when uncertain, was counted life, was never punishing you. It was shaping you, because strength that comes easily never lasts, and clarity that arrives without struggle never stays. You were being trained, not tormented, prepared, not delayed, refined, not rejected. And Season 1 is the phase where the inner foundation is laid before the outer rise begins. This is the season where silence teaches more than noise, where solitude builds more than applause, and where discipline becomes more important than motivation. You are learning too. Move forward without external validation, to trust your inner signal more than outside opinions, to stand firm even when results are not yet visible, because manifestation responds to alignment, not desperation, and alignment is forged in moments like this, when belief is chosen repeatedly without proof. Your past experiences were not weaknesses, they were instructions. Your pain was not meaningless, it was informative. Your failures were not endings, they were corrections, and the delays you hated were divine protections. Because if certain doors had opened earlier, you would have entered before you were strong enough to remain unchanged by what you received. Season 1 demands patience, not passive waiting, but active inner work. The kind where you refine thought patterns, release useless habits, detach from draining connections, and start honoring your own energy. This is the season where you stop chasing approval and start choosing consistency, where you stop reacting emotionally and start responding intentionally, where you stop asking why me and start asking what is being built within me right now, because life always builds the person before it builds the platform. You are no longer meant to live in survival mode, constantly proving, defending overthinking, and doubting your worth. You are meant to operate from clarity, direction, and grounded confidence, and that shift begins internally before it ever shows. Externally, understand this clearly: the world will not immediately applaud your growth, because real growth is subtle in the beginning. Roots grow in darkness before anything appears above the surface. So if you feel unseen, underestimated, or alone, do not misinterpret that phase. It is the exact position where transformation accelerates. The universe removes noise before it delivers clarity, removes comfort before it reveals capacity, and removes familiarity before it unlocks expansion. This is why some relationships are fading, some habits no longer satisfy, and some environments feel uncomfortable. You're outgrowing what once matched you, and growth always requires separation before elevation. Season 1 is also about emotional mastery, learning how to stay steady when circumstances wobble, how to keep direction when progress feels slow, and how to move forward even when fear speaks loudly. Because courage is not the absence of fear, it is action without surrender to it. Every disciplined choice you make right now compounds silently, and one day that internal compound interest becomes visible success, stability, and authority, not because you chased them, but because you became someone aligned to handle them. Abundance is not drawn to neediness, it is drawn to order, clarity, and self-trust, and these qualities are being embedded into you. Now you are learning the rhythm of life, that force creates resistance, but alignment creates flow, and once flow begins, everything starts syncing: people, opportunities, timing, ideas, all aligning effortlessly. But that flow only activates after patience, maturity, and self-respect are installed. This is why Season 1 feels heavy, purposeful, demanding, and quiet, because it is building resilience that will carry you through future seasons without collapse. Your intuition is sharpening, your tolerance for distraction is decreasing, your standards are rising, and your self-awareness is deepening. These are signs of elevation, not isolation. You are becoming selective with your energy because you are learning that not everyone deserves access to you, and not every opportunity deserves your time. Discernment is the currency of the evolved, and you are developing it. Now the universe is teaching you to trust yourself enough to move without gossip, approval, or guarantees, because once you can stand alone, aligned, you become unstoppable, supported by forces you cannot see but can deeply feel. Season 1 is where identity shifts, where inner dialogue transforms, where self-respect replaces self-doubt, and where faith becomes disciplined. Not emotional, this is the phase where you stop asking life to save you and start becoming responsible for your own direction. And once that transition is complete, life responds quickly, generously, and unmistakably. Stay present. Stay consistent, stay aligned, because what is being prepared next will require the strength, clarity, and authority you are building right now. And when the next door opens, you will not question whether you deserve it. You will walk through calmly, knowing you were shaped. For that moment, this message is not to excite you temporarily, it is to anchor you permanently. Season 1 is not a teaser, it is the foundation. And if you remain faithful to your inner alignment, patient with the process, and disciplined in action, the next season will reveal results that silence every past doubt, because life always rewards inner order with outer abundance, and this is only the beginning. It's not something you stumble upon one day by accident. It is something you grow into slowly through moments of loss, clarity, patience, and self-honesty. And if this message is reaching you now, it means that stage of growth has already begun inside you. Even if the outside world has not yet reflected it, you are standing in the middle of a transformation, not at the beginning and not at the end, but at the most critical point where most people quit, because results have not yet shown and doubt feels louder than faith. Yet understand this clearly. The most powerful changes never announce themselves loudly. They work in silence, reshaping perception, strengthening inner resolve, and correcting direction without asking for permission. You may feel restless, unusually reflective, or disconnected from your old desires, and this is not confusion. It is recalibration. Your internal compass is being reset because the life you are preparing to step into cannot be navigated with the same mindset habits and emotional patterns that brought you here. Santosh in this moment is not comfort. It is clarity, and clarity often feels uncomfortable before it feels peaceful. You are no longer meant to chase everything that excites you briefly. You are meant to choose what sustains you long term. And this maturity marks the entrance into season 1 of your awakening. A season defined not by achievement, but by alignment, not by recognition, but by inner order, not by speed, but by precision. Every experience you endured before this moment trained you for discernment. Even the mistakes, even the delays, even the emotional setbacks were lessons teaching you what does not work, so that you would recognize what does. This is why you can no longer tolerate environments, conversations, or ambitions that once felt acceptable. Your standards are rising not out of ego, but out of awareness. And awareness always demands responsibility. You're becoming conscious of how your thoughts shape your emotional state, how your emotional state influences your decisions, and how decisions create consequences across time. This awareness is power, because once you see the pattern, you can no longer pretend you are stuck. You realize you were just unaligned, and alignment is a choice renewed daily. Not a miracle that happens once. Santosh here means learning to remain steady, even when outcomes fluctuate, to trust your internal direction, even when external validation is absent, to act with intention rather than reaction, and to remain engaged with life without being emotionally dragged by every situation. Season 1 is the phase where identity shifts quietly, where the inner dialogue changes tone, where self-respect replaces self-criticism, and where patience replaces the need to prove anything immediately. You are learning discipline not as restriction, but as freedom. The freedom to say no without guilt, the freedom to move slowly without anxiety, and the freedom to build something meaningful instead of something fast. This is also the season where the universe tests your consistency, not by temptation alone, but by silence. There will be moments where nothing dramatic happens, where progress feels invisible, and where the temptation to revert to old habits is strong. Yet every time you choose alignment over impulse, you strengthen a version of yourself that cannot be shaken later when responsibility increases. Success does not destroy most people. Inconsistency does. And this season exists to remove that weakness from your foundation. You are being trained to hold stability before you are trusted with expansion, to manage clarity before complexity, and to lead yourself before influencing others. Santosh in this sense is emotional literacy. The ability to sit with discomfort without panicking, the ability to observe fear without obeying it, and the ability to move forward without guarantees. This is rare, and this is why few reach it, because it requires releasing. Now deepens into a quieter but far more powerful understanding, one that does not excite the mind but steadies the soul. Because at this point you begin to recognize that peace is not the absence of struggle, it is the mastery of response, and this mastery is what separates those who merely survive from those who shape their destiny deliberately. You are no longer reacting impulsively to circumstances, you are observing patterns, adjusting posture and choosing posture over panic. And this internal discipline signals a major shift. You are stepping out of emotional slavery into conscious leadership of your own experience. Many people speak about control, but very few understand self-governance. And Season 1 exists to train exactly that, the governance of thought, attention, emotion, and energy, because whatever governs you shapes your future more than talent, luck, or opportunity. And this is why distractions begin losing their grip on you. Now noise irritates excess, exhausts, and shallow. Pursuits feel empty because your system is recalibrated for meaning and depth. The things that once stimulated you temporarily now feel dull because your awareness has expanded. And expanded, awareness cannot be satisfied by small illusions. You are beginning to crave coherence, a life where thoughts, actions, and intentions align, because fragmentation drains vitality and coherence multiplies it. This is why you may feel compelled to restructure routines, reduce unnecessary commitments, and protect mental space. Even if you cannot fully articulate why your nervous system is learning safety through order, clarity, and predictability within self. Not through external reassurance, and once safety is internalized, courage emerges naturally, not as bravado, but as steadiness under pressure. Santosh at this level is emotional maturity, the ability to delay gratification without frustration, to hold uncertainty without desperation, and to progress without external applause. This maturity makes you resilient, not rigid, flexible, not fragile. You are learning to bend without breaking, to adapt without dissolving, and to advance without aggression. And this transformation is subtle but irreversible, like a shift in gravity. Once it occurs, everything moves differently around you, people respond differently, situations unfold differently, and obstacles no longer intimidate the same way, because your center of gravity has shifted inward. This inward anchoring is what ancient wisdom referred to as stability, from which all effective action flows, and it is rare because it demands patience, consistency, and humility, qualities that modern speed-driven culture often undermines. Yet you are cultivating them naturally, because life itself has taught you their value through contrast, loss, and repetition. Every delay trained patience, every disappointment refined discernment, and every misunderstanding strengthened self-reliance. This is not accidental, it is developmental. Santosh is the integration of these lessons into lived wisdom, not intellectual knowledge, but embodied understanding, the kind that informs choice without debate and action without hesitation. This is why you now sense certain directions as non-negotiable, not because you are rigid, but because clarity has replaced confusion. Your values are solidifying not as ideals, but as filters through which you assess opportunity, relationship, and risk. This filtering is critical because without it, potential leaks into distraction and energy, dissipates across too many directions, but with it, focus sharpens effort, concentrates, and outcomes compound. Season 1 demands discipline, not as force, but as devotion. Devotion to becoming congruent with your emerging self. This devotion requires saying no more often than yes, reducing exposure to chaotic input, protecting mornings and evenings, creating rituals that stabilize the nervous system, and maintaining integrity, even when compromise could yield short-term gain, because long-term alignment produces exponential returns while shortcuts produce fragmentation. At this stage, temptation appears not only as pleasure, but as urgency, the urge to rush, to announce, to prove, to accelerate before readiness. Yet wisdom whispers slower is stronger, because foundations built fast crack under pressure, while foundations built deliberately endure weight. You're beginning to respect process not as delay, but as protection, and this respect transforms impatience into endurance, and endurance into authority. This authority is internal. First, others will feel it later before hearing it in your words. They will sense steadiness in your presence, reliability in your decisions, and calm confidence in your demeanor. This is magnetic, not because it seeks attention, but because it emanates coherence. Humans trust coherence instinctively because it signals safety and leadership. Season 1 is teaching you to become that signal without trying. This is why you are pulled towards simplicity now. Clutter confuses simplicity. Clarifies you are learning that fewer well-chosen goals outperform many loosely held desires, and that depth in one direction yields more than scattered effort across many. This is not limitation. It is strategic focus and strategy. It is the language of those who think long-term. You are shifting from sprint mentality to marathon intelligence, from instant reward to compounded value, and from emotional reaction to intentional response. This shift changes how time feels. Productivity becomes natural, not forced. Rest becomes restorative, not guilt-ridden, and effort aligns with capacity, not exhaustion. Santosh in this stage is learning rhythm, honoring cycles of work, reflection, integration, and renewal, because life is not linear. It is rhythmic, and those who respect rhythm sustain performance, while those who ignore it burn out. Now your body, mind, and intuition are beginning to synchronize, sending clearer signals when to push, when to pause, and when to pivot, and learning to listen to. These signals is critical because ignoring them creates resistance, while honoring them creates flow. This flow is not luck, it is alignment in motion, and alignment is the quiet force that multiplies effort without strain. You are beginning to recognize that struggle is often a sign of misalignment, not necessity, and that ease does not mean lack of discipline. It means right application of discipline towards suitable goals. Season 1 may still challenge you, but it will no longer confuse you. Challenges now feel instructive rather than punishing because you are interpreting them through awareness instead of victimhood. This interpretive shift is one of the most powerful upgrades a human can experience because meaning shapes momentum too. People can face the same obstacle. One collapses, another evolves. The difference is interpretation, and interpretation is a choice refined through practice. You are practicing it now and getting stronger every day. Even when it feels slow, this slowness is deceptive. Because beneath visible pace, internal integration is accelerating, foundations settling steel, hardening systems aligning. And once alignment reaches threshold, momentum will surge naturally without chaos. This is why patience now protects power later. You are not being delayed, you are being prepared. Prepared to hold clarity under pressure, prepared to choose wisely at speed, and prepared to lead without losing yourself. Santosh ultimately becomes self-trust, and self-trust is the cornerstone of freedom. Because when you trust yourself, you are no longer dependent on constant validation, advice, or permission. You still listen, you still learn, but you decide from grounded awareness, not fear. This autonomy changes everything. Career, relationships, creativity, and spiritual alignment, because decisions made from self-trust compound into coherent life architecture rather than scattered episodes. Season 1 is the architectural phase, unseen by most, undervalued by many, yet decisive for everything that follows. Remain consistent, remain discerning, and remain anchored, because the life forming ahead of you will demand the stability you are building now. And when the next season opens, you will recognize it not by noise or announcement, but by the ease with which doors open without forcing, because readiness meets opportunity silently, and Santosh becomes no longer a goal, but a state of being. You carry into every interaction, decision, and creation, and from this state, everything meaningful grows. Friends, please like and subscribe my channel, and the press bell icon. Continue receive video.